In today's rapidly changing world, the image of a woman at the helm of a company, a nation, a research lab, or a grassroots movement is no longer a rarity. From CEOs running billion-dollar enterprises, heads of state guiding their countries through turbulent times, renowned scientists leading groundbreaking research, to educators shaping the minds of the next generation, women have risen to occupy positions of influence and authority across almost every sector imaginable. In the world of technology, finance, politics, education, healthcare, and beyond, women are proving time and again that leadership has no gender. They are demonstrating not only remarkable talent, intelligence, and resilience, but also compassion, creativity, and the ability to lead in ways that challenge conventional ideas of power. More importantly, women leaders today are not just succeeding individually. They are transforming the cultural landscape. They serve as powerful role models, breaking down barriers, and inspiring younger generations across the globe to aim higher and dream bigger. For young girls watching from the sidelines, seeing women in top leadership roles sends a potent message. Your gender does not determine your destiny, and your ambitions are valid. However, beneath the surface of this remarkable progress lies a quieter, often overlooked truth. Despite their accolades, achievements, and undeniable qualifications, women leaders continue to face disproportionate scrutiny, skepticism, and societal judgment. While they work tirelessly to prove their competence, they are simultaneously forced to navigate a maze of expectations, stereotypes, and double standards that their male counterparts are rarely subjected to. For male leaders, authority is often assumed. For women, it must be earned, reaffirmed, and defended repeatedly. A woman in leadership is not just evaluated on her performance, but also on her tone of voice, facial expressions, body language, clothing, and even the way she balances her professional and personal life. She must often walk a narrow tightrope, be strong but not too aggressive, warm but not overly emotional, confident but not arrogant, ambitious but not threatening. As society applauds the rise of women in positions of power, an important and often uncomfortable question lingers in the background. When a woman takes on a leadership role, is it simply an expression of her dreams, her ambition, and her talents? Or is it also, whether she realizes it or not, a decision to subject herself to a lifetime of being watched, judged, criticized, and second-guessed? The journey of women in leadership is, in many ways, a profound act of courage. It's not just about managing companies, leading teams, passing laws, or inspiring social change. It's about doing all of those things under a microscope, about knowing that every mistake will be magnified, every success will sometimes be downplayed, and every personal choice will be put under public scrutiny. This reality raises broader societal questions about how we define leadership, how we evaluate success, and how we can move toward a world where women are free to lead not just with courage, but also with the confidence that they will be judged fairly, not as exceptions or tokens, but as leaders in their own right. 1. The challenging path to leadership. Becoming a leader is no small feat. It requires an exceptional blend of talent, vision, discipline, determination, and persistence, qualities that transcend gender, race, or background. Leadership demands not only the ability to make tough decisions and manage complexity, but also the courage to navigate uncertainty and the wisdom to guide others toward a shared goal. Yet for women, the road to leadership is often marked by a unique set of challenges, hurdles, that go beyond the usual trials of management or competition and are deeply rooted in cultural norms, societal expectations, and historical biases. In many parts of the world, including Vietnam, much of Asia, and even in the West, women have long been associated with roles centered around caregiving, nurturing, and self-sacrifice. They have been seen as the backbone of families, the emotional anchors, and the quiet supporters behind the scenes. While this view might appear flattering on the surface, it has for centuries kept women on the margins of public life, limiting their access to formal positions of power and decision-making. Even as societies modernize and gender roles evolve, these deeply embedded stereotypes continue to shape perceptions, often in subtle but powerful ways. Leadership, with its demands for decisiveness, assertiveness, authority, and sometimes confrontation, is still, in many minds, associated with masculine traits. When women step into leadership roles, they are often stepping into territory that society has long conditioned them to avoid. As a result, women leaders frequently encounter a barrage of questions, doubts, and judgments that their male counterparts are rarely forced to confront. Comments like, "Is she neglecting her family or children to focus on her career? Is she being too ambitious, or worse, intimidating to her colleagues? Can she really handle tough decisions without letting emotions cloud her judgment? Is she likable enough to lead effectively?" These are not just harmless musings. They reflect a system of beliefs that continually undermine women's authority and credibility. International research has consistently shown that women leaders are judged more harshly and more personally than male leaders. Particularly during times of crisis or challenge, a decisive male leader is typically seen as bold, confident, and visionary. A woman who displays the same decisiveness may be described as cold, unfriendly, or even ruthless. A man who expresses passion is praised for his dedication. A woman who does so risks being called too emotional or unstable. The double standard extends beyond the workplace. In politics, for example, women running for office are often asked how they will balance public service with their family life, a question rarely posed to male candidates. In corporate boardrooms, women leaders are sometimes mistaken for junior staff or assistants, simply because of ingrained assumptions about who belongs in positions of power. For women, therefore, reaching the top is rarely just about talent or merit. It's about navigating and often dismantling deeply entrenched social beliefs. It's about learning how to earn respect in environments that were not originally designed to accommodate or welcome them. It's about proving and then continually reproving their competence, credibility, and right to lead. This constant need to validate one's worth can be mentally and emotionally exhausting. It can create what psychologists call the imposter syndrome, where even highly accomplished women begin to doubt their abilities because they have been socialized to believe they don't belong at the top. It can also force women into impossible balancing acts, where they feel pressured to be strong but not harsh, confident but not arrogant, and ambitious but not threatening. A tightrope that men in similar positions are rarely expected to walk. Yet, despite these obstacles, women across the globe continue to rise. They challenge norms, disrupt old models, and pave the way for others. Their success is not just a personal triumph. It is a statement to society that leadership is not and should never be limited by gender. In the end, the journey of women leaders is about far more than individual advancement. It's about collective transformation. When a woman ascends to a position of power, she is not only realizing her own potential, she is also reshaping the landscape for those who come after her, dismantling outdated assumptions, expanding possibilities, and showing the world that authority, wisdom, and leadership have no gender. 2. Courage, the key to breaking barriers. Given these challenges, it's no surprise that women leaders must possess an extraordinary level of courage, a type of courage that goes beyond simply making tough decisions or managing crises. This is the kind of courage that comes from standing firm in a world that often questions your right to lead, from pushing forward despite resistance, and from daring to claim space in rooms where women have historically been absent or marginalized. This courage is not something that magically appears overnight. Rather, it is developed and refined over time, often through hard-earned experience, painful setbacks, and moments of self-doubt transformed into growth. It stems from several key sources. Believing in themselves. At the heart of a woman leader's journey is an unwavering belief in her own value, ideas, and contributions. In a world where external validation can be scarce or conditional, women must learn to become their own strongest advocates. This self-belief is not arrogance. It is the quiet, steady confidence that comes from knowing one's purpose, strengths, and worth. Without it, it's all too easy to internalize the doubts and criticisms of others. Whether it's a CEO pushing for an innovative strategy, a politician championing an unpopular reform, or a scientist pursuing a radical new theory, self-belief is the foundation upon which resilience is built, defying stereotypes. Women leaders are constantly pushing back against rigid societal expectations. From a young age, many women are socialized to be agreeable, accommodating, and self-sacrificing, qualities often seen as incompatible with leadership, which traditionally values assertiveness, competition, and dominance. Female leaders must challenge these stereotypes daily, refusing to shrink themselves to make others comfortable or to downplay their ambitions for fear of being seen as too much. They must show, through their actions and presence, that leadership can be inclusive, collaborative, and empathetic without being weak. Persisting despite criticism. One of the harshest realities women in leadership face is the inevitability of criticism, and not just of their work, but often of their character, appearance, demeanor, and even family life. Criticism can come from peers, subordinates, the media, or the public, and it often carries a gendered edge. A woman who speaks firmly may be labeled bossy or cold. Me who shows emotion may be dismissed as overly sensitive. In the face of such relentless scrutiny, persistence becomes an act of defiance. Women leaders must develop thick skin and ability to separate constructive feedback from unfair or sexist attacks. They learn to keep moving forward, to stay focused on their goals, and to let their achievements speak louder than the noise around them. Balancing strength with authenticity. Perhaps one of the greatest challenges and gifts of modern leadership is the freedom to lead in a way that feels authentic. For women, this means resisting the pressure to imitate traditionally male leadership models that emphasize dominance, control, and emotional detachment. Instead, many women leaders are carving out their own style, one that embraces empathy, vulnerability, collaboration, and inclusion. They are showing the world that strength and softness are not opposites, that power can be exercised with humility, and that authenticity is a far more sustainable leadership trait than performance. By staying true to themselves, they create workplaces and cultures that are more human-centered and psychologically safe, benefiting everyone, expanding the definition of leadership itself. Ultimately, the rise of women leaders is not about masculinizing leadership or proving that women can play by the old rules. It's about rewriting those rules and broadening our understanding of what effective leadership looks like. Women are helping to redefine success, showing that great leaders are not those who dominate, but those who uplift. Not those who command from above, but those who inspire trust and collaboration. Not those who wear masks. In this way, women leaders are not just changing companies or governments, they're changing culture. They are expanding the possibilities for what leadership can be, making room for more voices, more approaches, and more pathways to success. 3. The invisible pressure of constant scrutiny. What makes leadership uniquely difficult for women is not merely the complexity of the work itself, but the invisible weight of societal expectations that they are forced to carry alongside their professional responsibilities. Unlike their male counterparts, women leaders are rarely judged solely on the outcomes they deliver or the strategies they implement. Instead, they are assessed on a much broader and often unfair spectrum, not just on what they do, but on how they do it, how they look while doing it, how they interact with others, and how well they conform to deeply ingrained gender norms. Appearance and presentation. For women in leadership, appearance is often a double-edged sword. Clothing, hair, makeup, posture, facial expressions, and even voice modulation become subjects of intense scrutiny. A woman who dresses in a highly formal manner may be described as stiff, cold, or unapproachable. One who opts for a more relaxed or creative style may be seen as unprofessional or frivolous. There's a narrow, almost impossible standard that women are expected to meet, polished but not flashy, attractive but not distracting, authoritative but not intimidating. Male leaders, by contrast, are rarely judged on their suits, haircuts, or shoes with such intensity. They are often free to focus on their message without worrying that their appearance will overshadow it. Family life and personal responsibilities. Perhaps one of the most striking disparities is how society treats the family responsibilities of women leaders compared to men. Women in positions of power are frequently asked, either directly or through public commentary, questions such as, who's taking care of her children? Is she neglecting her family for her career? Or can she really handle the demands of leadership while being a good mother or partner? Male leaders, on the other hand, are almost never subjected to the same line of questioning. In fact, when male leaders mention their children or families, They are often praised as being well-rounded or grounded. For women, family can be seen as a potential vulnerability or distraction, a sign that perhaps she is overextending herself or out of balance. This double standard creates a persistent emotional tension for many women leaders, forcing them to overcompensate in one domain or another, and often making them feel as though they can never fully win in either sphere. Emotional tone and communication style. Communication is another domain filled with tightropes. A woman who speaks firmly, expresses strong opinions, or enforces rules is often described as harsh, abrasive, or even bossy. Yet, if she adopts a warm, collaborative, or nurturing approach, she risks being labeled as soft, weak, or lacking authority. This constant balancing act between being strong but not severe, warm but not vulnerable, confident but not arrogant, places women under immense psychological strain. They are often required to read the room more carefully, manage their tone more consciously, and calculate their words more cautiously than male peers, simply to avoid backlash or misinterpretation. The hidden cost: exhaustion, self-doubt, and burnout. What's most damaging about these pressures is not just that they exist, but that they create a hidden, chronic burden that saps women's energy and undermines their well-being. It's not the work itself, the hours, the projects, the meetings, or the decisions that most often leads to burnout among women leaders. Rather, it's the emotional labor required to constantly manage perceptions, to anticipate criticism, and to brace for the inevitable judgments. Over time, this can lead to a state of near constant vigilance and self-monitoring. Women may find themselves second-guessing their choices, worrying about how they are being perceived, or feeling compelled to overperform in multiple areas just to maintain credibility. This mental and emotional drain can erode self-confidence, fuel imposter syndrome, and ultimately push talented women to the brink of exhaustion, not because they aren't capable, but because they are being asked to carry an invisible load that men are rarely even asked to notice. 4. Real-life examples. Women who inspire. Around the world, there are countless examples of women who have shattered glass ceilings and inspired others through their courage and leadership. Sheryl Sandberg, USA. As the former Q of Facebook and author of Lean In, Sandberg sparked a global conversation about women, ambition, and leadership. She has urged women to claim their seat at the table and called for workplaces to become more supportive of gender diversity. Jacinda Ardern, New Zealand. As the former Prime Minister of New Zealand, Ardern earned international praise for her empathetic leadership during crises like the Christchurch mosque shootings and the COVID-19 pandemic. Her ability to combine strength with compassion has redefined what political leadership can look like. Christine Lagarde, France. As the president of the European Central Bank and former managing director of the International Monetary Fund, IMF, Lagarde is one of the world's most influential economists. She is known for her sharp intellect, resilience, and commitment to bringing more women into economic leadership. Mary Barra, USA. As the CEO of General Motors, Barra became the first woman to lead a major global automaker. Under her leadership, GM is committed to an all-electric future, showing her forward-thinking vision in a traditionally male-dominated industry. These stories remind us that behind every successful woman leader is a journey marked by resilience, sacrifice, and determination. They show that leadership comes in many forms: political, corporate, social, and that each breakthrough paves the way for others to follow. 5. How society needs to evolve. If we want more women to lead without fear of constant scrutiny, societal change is essential. Here's what we can do. Organizations. Companies must create transparent, merit-based promotion processes, address pay gaps, offer parental support policies, and actively work to dismantle biases in hiring and leadership evaluation. Media. Instead of focusing on what women wear or how they juggle family, media should spotlight their ideas, achievements, and impact. Communities and families. Support from family, friends, and mentors can make or break a woman's leadership journey. Encouraging men to share domestic responsibilities equally is key. Educational systems. We need to teach girls from an early age that leadership, confidence, and ambition are not masculine traits. They are human traits. 6. how women can stay resilient. While society changes, women can also take proactive steps to protect their mental well-being and leadership effectiveness. Build unshakable self-confidence. Confidence is not just a personality trait. It's a skill that can be cultivated through practice, mentorship, and self-reflection. Find mentors and allies. Having a network of supporters, including both men and women, provides guidance, solidarity, and fresh perspectives. Prioritize mental health, regular self-care, therapy if needed, mindfulness practices, and time for reflection helps sustain energy and clarity. Set boundaries. Learning to say no and delegate effectively prevents burnout. Celebrate wins. Women leaders often focus so much on what's next that they forget to acknowledge how far they've come. 7. The double-edged sword of visibility. Ironically, the very visibility that makes women leaders subject to scrutiny is also what gives them their power to inspire. By simply being there, in the boardroom, on the political stage, or in the public eye, women leaders challenge outdated ideas about what leadership looks like. Every time a woman leads with integrity, courage, and vision, she chips away at the stereotypes holding others back. She shows the next generation that leadership is not defined by gender, but by competence, character, and the ability to create positive change. 8. The road ahead. Beyond courage, toward normalization. Our ultimate goal should not be to constantly marvel at how brave women leaders are for withstanding scrutiny. It should be to normalize their presence at every level of leadership. We need to reach a point where a woman running for president isn't historic. It's expected. A woman CEO isn't a headline. It's a norm. A woman who is ambitious isn't seen as threatening, but as visionary. The burden of breaking barriers should not rest solely on women's shoulders. It's a collective responsibility, one that requires men and women alike to question their assumptions, speak up against bias, and support diverse leadership. 9. Final thoughts. Courage, yes, but not forever. Women in leadership embody courage, but the goal is not for them to forever carry the weight of society's expectations and judgments. The goal is to change the conditions so that their leadership feels natural, celebrated, and respected, without an asterisk attached. So, is women's leadership about courage or scrutiny? For now, it's both. But if we do the work as individuals, organizations, and societies, we can create a world where women no longer have to prove they deserve to be leaders. They'll simply be leaders. Women's leadership about courage or scrutiny? For now, it's both. But if we do the work as individuals, organizations, and societies, we can create a world where women no longer have to prove they deserve to be leaders. They'll simply be leaders. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.